how do we work with this idea of letting go? So it's so often taught in the spiritual traditions. You know, we talk about renunciation as really one of the senses of our practice bearing fruit, the ability to let go a little bit more easily. And it's a phrase that's so often thrown around in a yoga class or when a friend tells us just to get over someone, let go of them, but it really isn't that easy. And today, the reason this is so salient for me is today we put our beloved home on the market, and we'll be saying goodbye to this space that has held us safely and joyfully for nearly 13 years. And although I know that new adventures await, it's still hard to leave somewhere the home and also the community that has been of such support. There's a lot of mixed emotions, but this is where I really love having something tangible to work with and to share with you, because then it reminds me to do my practice. All right, so settling in, just finding a comfortable position, whether you're sitting or whether you're lying down. And I'd like you to bring to mind something that maybe you have been holding on to. So it could be a particular thought, like an argument that you've been holding on to, knowing that you're right. It could be a possession. It could be a relationship. And part of you maybe knows that you've reached the sell-by date, but another part is holding on tight. Because it's often as if we have two different personalities, two different people residing within us. One that knows the most skillful way of behaving, and then the other that grips on tight to old patterns just because it feels safer. So this mini embodied practice I've found very helpful in terms of letting go. And we'll start with this practice and then move into a longer meditation together. So I like to use the stick from the singing bowl as a way to demonstrate. And you may have something nearby, maybe a water bottle or a pen or something that you can hold quite tightly in your palm. And I'd like you to squeeze it. Even if it's just your palm clinging on. And imagine now someone says, just let go of that thing that you're holding on to. They may even try and wrench up the fingers, but what happens is we get tighter and tighter. So feel how it feels. Feel the energy it takes to grip onto it. And then very, very gently opening the palm. So instead of letting go, we are letting be. We are letting this thing be held within our awareness, whether it's a relationship, a thought, a possession. And then in its own time, it can move through. So if we think of the force it would take really to let it go, or the sense of kind of rejecting, pushing, throwing it away, and contrast that with this simple act of opening up, not just our hand, but opening up the mind and allowing what has reached its sell-by date to move through. Leaving us, of course, open and receptive for whatever is waiting to arise. So let's take that imagery into our longer practice. And you may want to start with bringing hands together at the heart. And setting your intention to let things be. In order to let other things go, and to let new experiences arrive. Let be, let go, let in. And then releasing your hands, maybe bringing them together in your lap. Allowing the spine to lengthen, whether you're sitting or lying down. Particularly feeling that elongation through the back of the neck. You may need to bring the chin in slightly. Aware of all the points of contact with the earth beneath. And a sense of settling down into this dignified pose. This pose that holds us steady. Whatever needs to transform from within. And softly deepening the breath. Feeling the different places in the body that expand as the breath draws in. And also becoming aware of what is able to soften as the breath flows out. Inviting 5 more conscious breaths, slowing down, lengthening the exhale, while noticing any subtle shifts within your own nervous system, your own physical body, and of course, connected with that, any shifts that happen in the mind or the heart mind. And maybe casting your mind back to a particular situation that created ruminating thoughts, where you noticed your mind going round and round and round. And I expect that part of you knew that if you could let go that thought, things would be better. But another part was gripping on. And if nothing specific comes to mind, then maybe notice a part of your body where there's a little bit of tension. That's often linked to a thought, sense of gripping, holding, tightening around something. And our habit is to hold on to what is familiar. Which makes sense. There's a safety in that. Yet once we begin this path of spiritual growth, there is always the unknown ahead. And the first part of our journey may be self-regulation, learning how we can work with difficult emotions, how we can let them go. The second part of our journey is often about self-exploration, recognizing the habit patterns that hold us tethered to behaviors that are not always skillful. And then we need to put our trust in the third stage of practice, self-liberation. That sense of freedom from what holds us, limits us, restricts our potential for expansion, for freedom, for growth. And that's what we can work with in a letting go practice. So noticing where your mind is right now and gently inviting it back to the breath. Such a perfect way to experience those three different aspects of letting be, letting go, letting in something new, something unexpected, something that may bring great insights or delights or understanding. So when you reach the top of your in-breath, make a little pause and let things be, the body full of breath. And then feel how it feels to let the breath flow out, to let it go. Creating space for the in-breath, letting it in, expanding. And beginning the cycle again, holding just at the top of the in-breath, letting things be. A sense of fullness. And then letting go, freeing the body from the now stale breath. Preparing to let in the new, fresh experience of breathing. And continuing that cycle for a few rounds, really sensing into the embodied quality of letting be, finding stillness, openness, awareness, letting go, releasing what may feel stuck or old or no longer useful, creating the space for something new. That deep inhale. As Rumi once said, clearing us out for some new delight. And as you bring curiosity to this practice, recognizing too that there's over 30 of us across the whole world who are sitting together right now. And we each have something that we grasp onto. And that very act of clinging brings suffering. It takes great courage, though, to open that hand and wait for something new to be received. Whenever I'm experiencing something that's difficult, that brings up those challenging emotions, the most supportive thought that I can cultivate is that there's thousands, sometimes millions of people across the whole world who are also experiencing those difficulties. And as soon as we recognize that it's just how it is to be part of this human family, this human experience, then sometimes the letting be can happen a little bit more naturally. And it's not then that we need to let go, but rather that the thing we've been holding on to lets go of us and moves through. So maybe taking 5 more breaths, experiencing once again that sense of letting be with the fullness of the held in breath, increasing our capacity each time to hold a bit more, to let more things be. And then the breath releases on its own. It knows when it's time to move on, when it's time to let us go. And then the new breath pours in. And when that feels like enough, return to simple awareness, opening to whatever is around you, right here, right now. Aware once again of the earth supporting us from beneath. The sky reminding us of our vast potential. And the community that is here with us. And for the next few minutes, just invite that sense that there's nothing to do in this moment. There's nowhere to go, nothing to achieve. Resting in your natural state of awareness, with thoughts moving through the mind, sounds arising and falling. And recognizing that we are part of this continuous flow of phenomena. And when we find ourselves gripping tightly to something, then remember that it's part of that thing's journey to move through, to move on, to open us up for some new delight. And to close, we can bring hands together at the heart. And this gesture, I love to imagine, and one of my teachers spoke of us holding a precious jewel, the precious jewel of our practice. So honoring that, knowing that it sustains us whatever we're going through. And then we offer the benefit, the merit of the practice out to all beings. So I'll use the singing bowl, and as you hear the sound, imagine whatever benefit you gain from the practice. Imagine sending that out in ever-widening circles. Or whatever difficulty you noticed in the practice, imagine sending out the wish that others be free from that difficulty, so that we may in some way support others. One of the underlying wishes as I wrote this book was to understand how to stay present and steady with the complexity of the world that we are inhabiting at the moment. How can we keep opening to difficulties without getting overwhelmed, without getting burnt out, without turning away and avoiding or burying our head in the sand, if I think of the ostrich analogy. And recognizing where we have some agency, what we can do things about, and where we can, we act, and where we can't, we don't get so tied up in the anger that is so often associated with a sense of helplessness.